Ladies and gentlemen, it's Brave Banana here. We're live for the Monday Night Spaces, pTGC and UFO. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. We are glad you're here. As soon as TG Zen makes us live on Spaces, we'll play that. Until then, you gotta listen to me jibber jabber. Yay, right? Well, I just got to send one message in Telegram. Make sure that I'm not missing anything. Give me a second, guys. pTGC chat, what's going on there? October 21st, 6:30 p.m. 18 people in here, supposedly. You guys want to hear a strange story? A few weeks ago, some of you guys remember that I left the space stream on a Saturday because I had my timing right and I was going to a football game and I just left my phone, everything here set up. And normally they're like 100, 150 people, eyeballs. You see little eyeballs on the StreamYard. It just shows you how many people are presumably watching. Well, I left everything running and everybody was like, Prairie, do you know your stream's still going? I'm like, yeah, I know. I just decided to shut it down when I got home, like 8 or 10 hours later. I walked back in here. There were, I kid you not, I am not exaggerating this. There were over 4,000 eyeballs in my Twitter space. I mean, on my YouTube stream. 4,000. There were not 4,000 people watching this. You know what I'm saying? Impossible. Not possible. So I asked ChatGPT what's going on there, and it didn't know. Imagine that. I got to get my stream hat on. Hold on. I have a hat that I wear outdoors and another hat that I don't wear outdoors. And it still is a little greasy, kind of yucky. But I'm a guy. I work outside and inside. 27 people are going to the space. You know what happens is I end up not on the space. I end up coming in late, even though I'm clicking on it. It's kind of, I haven't 100. See, this is a post from there. Okay. Yeah, something funky's going on. Good evening, Grandpa Pulse. I'm going to reach out and see if I can get a hold of TG Zen. So if you'll be patient, guys. That'd be funny if he didn't, if he forgot about it. It wouldn't be funny. It wouldn't be funny. But it would be kind of funny, I guess. You know what I mean? Kind of funny, not like a mean funny, but it would be. We are, dude. What did I forget? Oh, I had a meeting on Friday. I sneaking wrote down because I kept forgetting what time the meeting was. And I was like, it's either 3 or 4. I mean, it's either 3 or 4. And I jump in the chat, like, what time's our meeting? It's at 4. Wrote it on a sticky note. I'm like, I'm keeping this. And I put it on my desk. I'm like, I mean 3. It's actually at 3. Meeting's at 3. He's jumping on in a minute. And so, and I have it on a sticky note. It's right there. It says this meeting is weekly. It's at 3 o'clock. And what do I do at 3 o'clock? Something else. I thought it was at 4. Time zones, man. They'll get you messed up sometimes. How's everyone doing? Hope you're doing well. Shaka, good to have you in here. What did Jim Horton say? Can't get enough pTGC. Need to get some more UFO. Did you hear it right? Did I hear it right that 11% of pTGC burned? Let's have a look at that. I'm going to share my screen. And I will show you exactly what you're talking about. Because I've been keeping records. I'll just need to get this over here to this page. Let's hide this. Give me a second, guys. Oh, there it is right there. 11.28% of the supply has been burned. Jim Horton. 11.28% of the supply has been burned. The remaining supply is 296 billion tokens. Yes, true burn. Thank you, Shaka. This is not sometimes tokens will launch and they'll immediately burn 10% of the supply. So when you go to DBank, it looks like yes, there were tokens burned. They were burned. It's in DBank. You can't access those tokens. However, sometimes a token will launch and they'll send a percentage to the burn address or a burn address to make it look like what tokens were burned. Yes, they were burned. However, it's because a portion of the supply was sent to the dead address. Well, what's the point? If you do that on launch day, nobody had access to those tokens. It's almost like it's a little bit shifty if it's done that way. UFO and pTGC, the tokens were not burned that way. These are, as in Shaka's words, true burned tokens. So if you go to dbank.com and go to the 369 address, you can see all the tokens that were burned. And if you scroll down, not very far, you'll see that there have been 37.6 billion pTGC burned and 67 billion UFO burned. The difference there is pTGC launched a year ago, started with 333.333 billion tokens. UFO launched, I want to say like six or 7 months ago in May, April 29th, I think. Started with a supply of 1 trillion tokens. So that's the difference. pTGC 37 billion in a year, UFO 67 in 6 months. So it's almost apples to apples. It'd be interesting to factor it out per day. But UFO does burn pTGC. We need to bear that in mind. And I have some information on that I really need to get smooth in here. I have some burn calculations. I just need to spend some time in here, and time is going to open up here soon, which I've been saying for like 2 months, but the weather has been fair, so it's been keeping me outdoors. But there's all kind of metrics that we can get out off the blockchain. Give me a second, guys. He's on. Yay.
All the volume is strictly arbitrage bots. pTGC, I would say, probably has a little bit more human interaction than UFO, but definitely right now it's majority arbitrage bots. I'd say that's mainly just.
All right, what happened? All right, guys. Do a little triage.
to figure out if we were being, pulled out of the routing queues or just volume was down across the board. I don't know how to track that easily.
Yeah. So when we make money off of the arbitrage bots, the way those arbitrage bots get activated is when there's actually arbitrage activity or opportunity. If there isn't an arbitrage opportunity, we don't get to capitalize on those bots. Obviously, they're not going to make the transactions and not make money and lose money. So if the whole network doesn't have a volume and a volatile shift within our web, those opportunities don't come up. And then right now, what I've noticed is a lot of people there isn't a lot of like natural trading volume on Pulse Chain is what I can see. It looks like everyone's kind of just like grabbed their RH token and are kind of just sitting and waiting. But I believe is for the 31st, because if 31st comes out really, really positive, what they're probably believing is RH tokens are going to pop, and then they're probably just sitting there too, just in case it doesn't go as they please, they can adjust accordingly. But that's kind of what I was thinking. But yeah, if there's not like a volatile shift, volume shift on work, we aren't going to get to capitalize on arbitrage opportunities. So in the last 24 hours, what I've noticed is EHEX took a huge dip, right? So if you look at the EHEX pair with UFO, there's actually more volume on that pair than any of the other pairs. Why? Because that's the pair that the arbitrage had. So they pulled from all the other pairs and fit the UFO EHEX pair just today. And that's where majority of the volume came from UFO today. And that's roughly $40,000. Specifically from that one pair getting put out of whack.
Hayden, you want to summarize what you were just talking about? Because I was just talking with Chad, and somebody was asking if you would repeat it. You don't got to repeat the whole thing, but I missed a lot of it too.
Yeah, so the functionality of like our web design, our main utility, is when the market moves up and down, it creates movements in the web, and we're connected to the web as UFO, right? So whenever there's a action, there's a reaction, and when those actions and reactions throw our web out of whack, our utility is then the arbitrage bots have to flow into our web and fix our pricing of UFO amongst all the pairs until they're evened out enough. Obviously the fee is involved. So they're not going to do it and not be profitable. But if it gets put out of whack, the arbitrage bots will come in and fix the price. And then that value gets scraped and put to the underlying value of UFO or pTGC. So when you see tons of volume flowing, that's usually because there's tons of volume on chain, like on PulseX. And then also those ratios are getting put out of whack. But if there's lack of volume on chain, on Pulse Chain, lack of volatility, then naturally we're going to have less volume too, because we're a cause of what's happening on the DEX. If the DEX is slow, we're going to be a little bit slower because the volume isn't flowing as much that day.
Right.
What I was getting at with EHEX is EHEX in the last 24 hours, or at least this was this morning. I was pretty busy at work today, that's why I was running a little late. I saw EHEX had a huge dip. And since EHEX had a huge dip, it made the UFO in the EHEX pair cheaper because everything is tied via liquidity. So then all of our other pools were buying up that cheap UFO and bringing that UFO back up to somewhat similar prices as the other pairs. And then this is, our main utility, and this is what we gain value on, is when the markets shift that we're connected to, it throws our pairs out of whack, and then the arbitrage bots realign them, and then we charge our bots to realign them and bring that value back. obviously today it was EHEX going in the negative direction. We prefer it in a positive direction, like when a price of something goes up and then we fix that price back down, because then we get price up and value. That's a double win. But, you know, it's not going to be green every day. The nice thing about this protocol is even on the negative days that we had that negative movement with something we're connected to, at least we still get to extract that value or gain that value and bring it back to the underlying value of the protocol.
Right. And then that value sits in our wallets and we can compound it into stakes. But nevertheless, you know, we can compound it into stakes that'll earn more, or we can just leave it there and it'll earn more reflections. And while it sits there, the network should start going up in value. And then at some point we can take that pTGC that's sitting in the wallet will increase in value, is basically what I'm trying to say. You earn rewards, and then those rewards will start increasing in value along with the rest of the tokens.
Yeah, over the long term, it does equal that, because you have to realize the only way those tokens actually land in your wallet is from value moving through our system. There's no inflation involved, so it can't just land in your wallet with no value actually gained. So the value actually gained is from the arbitrage bot, mostly. Like today, 95% or more of the volume that happened with UFO today is the arbitrage utility that we have. So that bot, to fix the price, let's say it moved to $1,000. Well, they have to get in and then out. Well, on that $1,000, they now gave $100 to the protocol. And that value came from a buy. So the $100 actually was value that wasn't in our ecosystem, but it entered our ecosystem due to our web. So now even that UFO, let's say you got a UFO reflection, that UFO that you gained today actually came from a buy. It came from an arbitrage bot's buy.
Right.
So just today, that small fraction, like obviously we're talking about small amounts here, but that small fraction that you eat today, that was a positive increase on it. If you decide to hold that is the price of the UFO, because the holding is pretty much one of the only things that creates price go up. It's the holding up the price, or let's say the buy and burn, because when you send it to the debt address, that's the most benevolent holder that's out there. That's a holder that will never sell. So that's why that buy and burn is so powerful. Even our holders being strong is powerful, because the only way they received an additional token is because a token actually got bought. And that's really, really strong. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, when I see these low volume days or weeks, it's hard to swallow. However, I remind myself when I see them that this machine's doing as intended. And that's what excites me, is when I can look through all the buys and see that, for example, today's EHEX volume and UFO's total volume of 50K all came from bots. Where if we didn't have those tokenomics in that machine, we were just your typical normal token. Be like everybody else, there'd be no volume. So it's all these reflections and rewards getting paid from the money that the R bots are moving, not from other people. And it's just a good reminder, I think, that this is awesome. That's awesome tech. And as the volume kicks back, it just grows even better. So it's, I don't know, I just, sometimes I need that reminder. In the last few days, I've had that reminder.
Yeah, if you think about it, like this, like us figuring this idea out was the solution that I would say 99.9% of protocols, the problem they run into is everything in crypto, it has a period of where there's hype, and then there's usually a cool down. There's like a breath, and most projects actually never recover from this breath. It's just, it loses the momentum and then dies forever. Sometimes strong communities can pick it back up for a period of time, but then again, a period of time goes by and then it dies forever. So what's really unique about this system is the web that's been created from the ground floor creates a system that actually can never die. Because for an example today, the blockchain is pretty quiet. There's not a lot of speculating. There's not a lot of movement. This is detrimental to most protocols. This is what gives it no volume, especially in a reflection and buy and burn style token where volume is everything, right? People are getting into the token, obviously hoping for the volume. But if you didn't have this web design, let's say this protocol was launched with no web design, well, people would be sitting here today with no actual volume on the token. But with our utility and our web design, even when no people are speculating, the system still runs because we created the system to be dependent on the machine instead of the emotions of humans, right? Instead of being dependent on humans actually participating, we made it to where the machine will participate no matter what, and then the humans will obviously follow the machine, knowing that they can trust the machine. Every business is moving to machines because they realize they can trust this machine to show up to work every day more than that employee. This is every industry out there. So it just makes sense that even when crypto, to actually base the mechanics off of a bot buying instead of hoping a human actually came in that day.
We'll make a reminder for you guys for everybody to go to Morales.com and start stacking up your beans. You got to sign up on the site and get up to, I think, 3,000 beans, it looks like. And you can pick up 500 every day. It's going to take some tenacity and persistence to get up to 3,000 beans. But once you do, then you can rate pTGC and, of course, give it a 5-star rating. And remind us, Zen, what the benefit of that is.
Yeah, I think the benefit of that is I believe that Morales is possibly going to become a popular place where people find info on tokens, especially on how big a following Ivan has. And he's obviously trying to promote it as his own product and company in terms. So if we can actually establish dominance on this platform, not only on the Pulse chain side of it, but even just in general of crypto, if we can really get a strong rating, I think that will show people how strong our community is and make them feel confident in educating themselves on the system.
Okay. Jim Horton asks, and I'm bringing this up because it's something we can address on the stream on Thursday. He says, are you guys guessing possibly a quarter of all supply will be burned by next fall? Maybe we can have this conversation now, but I'll use this opportunity to mention that we are streaming on Thursday, and we're going to talk about where perhaps pTGC and UFO could go in this bull cycle. And that's going to be Thursday. I think it's at 10:30 Eastern, but I'll put it up on my YouTube graphics. He's going to be there. He's going to stream it on his YouTube. Crypto Kong is going to be there also. I'm not sure whether he's going to stream it, but then TGCN is going to be there as well. We might have a guest or two, but it should be a great stream. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So I didn't really hear the question, but obviously, yeah, on Thursday we're going to kind of be running some numbers on like where pTGC could go, what we think the reflections could be like, what the buy and burn could be like. Looking into the future with volume increases of the blockchain for one, and price increases of the blockchain, Pulse chain is two. Because these are two metrics that, in my opinion, are really important for the success of pTGC to an extent. Like obviously right now, the volume and the price of Pulse has been quite awful, and we're still succeeding quite well. We're one of the best performing assets on the chain. But once these two metrics actually tick in our favor, we can see in real time how they directly correlate to our price and our volume and how our machine actually works. So if we're excited and we're happy with how the machine is working today, like we said, there's roughly $50,000 in volume, all from arbitrage bots. But we have to keep in mind this is at like near the bottom of pulse chain. It's half a sack rate, and it's on a day that there is very lack of volume on the chain in general. So once these two things pick up and the environment that we're built in becomes more favorable to what our tokenomics are built around, I personally think this thing could go insane. And that's kind of the numbers that we're going to be playing with on Thursday. So people can kind of see, obviously, just math-based where this could go. It's all speculation because we don't know where pulse chain is going. We don't know where the volume's going. But if these things come into play with the things built around us, you can actually figure out where this could go.
Yeah. Well, we have a year's worth of history with pTGC in six months or more with UFO. And the more time that goes behind us, the more of a history we have. And when you have history, it helps you to forecast the future, And Jim Horton raises a good point that we're gonna touch on in the stream. He talks about the supply, and he's like, where do you think supply could be a year from now? And a lot of that obviously depends on the volume and the price of pTGC, the volume of the network and the price. But we could burn a lot of tokens between now and next year. Right? Look, we burned 11.28% in the first year. We could be up to 25% by this time next year. Perhaps.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like in a bull market, what this with pulse chain being successful, because we know how much volume and trading happens in those peak months of a bull market, right? Like there is tons of money flowing in and out. And we know what happens with this protocol when tons of money flows in and out, even if it's a seller and then a buyer. Technically, the price goes nowhere. Let's say a $50,000 sell happens and then a $50,000 buy happens. Well, yeah, the price went nowhere, but our machine actually just gained $5,000 in value just by that one swing. And that swing could happen in a matter of minutes, right?
Yeah. Yep, totally.
On the weekend, I was crunching some numbers just to see what we are burning on a daily basis. And we took the data from the last 6 months, and what we found is on average in the last 6 months, we are burning roughly a dolphin position every single day out of pTGC.
I don't know if you really think about that, a dolphin position, like a dolphin position during this bear market has been my target. I'm like, I want a dolphin or more, or I'm just going to go look at something else. And because I know what a dolphin represents in a full-on bull market, we're burning a dolphin every single day. A dolphin's worth of supply. I mean, it just about takes your breath away, man.
Well, and then you think about it, for the last few months, I don't know when this shift really started, but when pulse chain started going back down to these lower levels, the Dow has made it a point to specifically putting more attention to adding LP, because adding LP and grabbing RH tickers at discounted levels makes a lot of sense, because the more tickers we can buy at discounted levels, when the whole ecosystem revalues, now that's just more machine working for us, working for our users, because the bigger these LP pools are, the more the arbitrage bots have to move. And then obviously that equals more value into the system long term. But if you think about that, we haven't even been focusing on buy and burns. We've been focusing on LP ads. So what happens when the RH tickers get back to at least sack rate, and let's say the Dow decides to switch back to buy and burns instead of LP ads? It could be more than a dolphin position a day, or a dolphin position at higher prices a day.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of people haven't even put together yet, is like right now we've been in the stages of just setting the strong foundation for the future. The hyper buy and burn hasn't even been kicked in really yet. We've just been building up that LP web because we know that LP web functions for us every single day, no matter what. That's the thing, bringing in real value, real utility. The market does its thing, and then we bring in that real value. That real value is what's paying out real yield that's actually backed by real value.
Yep. And then at the top of the cycle, or whenever we think we're near the top or we're in that zone, we start, like you said, using that those Dow funds to buy pTGC and send it to the burn address, and also adding LP to stable coins to, protect the price against downward pressure.
Yeah, 100%. And, one thing that's crazy about that is if you think about when we do start bolstering up our stable coin LP pool, well, when the market does start to shift back down, obviously we still will have lots of LP with RH tickers and stuff like that. What will that create? Huge arbitrage opportunity between our LP pools, which means our ecosystem will be raking in that much more value.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, obviously hedging against the downtrend by pairing ourselves heavily with stable coins, making it so we don't get as much of the downtrend as things we're connected to.
Jim Horton comments again. He says the amounts that are bought and burnt during the bull run is really potentially insane. Also, do you guys agree pTGC is about a 10x on what Pulse does? I'll let you answer that.
Unknown, right? We don't know how much pTGC is going to do over Pulse chain. If that was written in stone and written in the stars, obviously I would assume everyone would flock over to us. But what we do know is in the past, we know Pulse chain went up roughly a 4x. And in that same time period, pTGC went up 10x against Pulse chain. So when Pulse chain went up 4x, pTGC went up 40x. That's what we have to base our, what we can assume could happen in the future off of is past performance. You can't guarantee past performance is the same as the future, but we can study it and then make assumptions on it. We do know everywhere Pulse goes, it's going to drag not only pTGC, but drag everything that we're connected to. If any of that money flows into pTGC or anything else that we're connected to, for an example, HET, DAI, PLSX, we also get the X's from the money flowing into the other RH tickers. So for an example, if Pulse Chain does a 5X from here, and then Hex does a 10X, because anytime money flows into Pulse, it's technically flowing into Hex also, because Hex is paired with Pulse Chain. But if any of that trickles down to Hex, well, now it moved Hex up because of the upside of Pulse Chain, and then also because of that money flowing into Hex and creating X's on this. This is the X multiplier idea. But the thing with us is, since we're not only tied with Pulse Chain, we're tied with all these other tokens that can do more X's than Pulse Chain. It's like an X multiplier on an X multiplier. And usually this is a little scary because you're creating a leverage on a leverage on a leverage. But what's unique to our system is when we do this leverage on a leverage on a leverage, we keep adding more value to the system while buying and burning the tokens behind us at the same time, making it so we're actually hedging ourselves against the flip when the downtrend happens. And you can see what happens here. Everything fell harder than us, but our buy and burn was kicked in. Our incentive for holding was kicked in. So our tokenomics and our mechanics actually keep us hedged against everything falling. But then when everything rises, it seems that we get even more out of that experience than everything around us, is what I'm seeing on chain. Obviously, any day someone could sell a huge amount or a group of people could sell a huge amount and we'd have a bad day, right? But our system has longevity. It's got burnt LPs, and it has purpose, right? So if people do sell, I don't think that there wouldn't be a group of people willing to buy that sell, because there is only so many pTGC on the market. There's never any more. So this is anything in the world that has scarcity. If there's plenty of it, there's no to it. I gave this example on Saturday. I'm going to say it again for anyone new that's listening. What is one of the most valuable things on this earth? It's water, but it's not scarce, right? Water comes into all of our, or most of our houses with piping and plumbing. You turn on your faucet and water's right there. Well, let's say something horrible happens and you woke up one day, no one had water to their houses anymore. No one had clean water. Well, now water is one of the most valuable things in the world, because now it's became scarce to the human public. And that's just the simplest example of how scarcity brings value. So if you want to give something value, you want to make it scarce. And that's what's beautiful about the buy and burn and the incentive for people to hold, is it makes it scarce and there's never any more of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Does anybody care to come up and make some comments? Is Coach in here? He is. Coach, you were quiet on Saturday. He's going to be quiet today, too.
Coach is on stream after stream after stream. This is his chill out time to listen to some other people talk.
Yeah, true. How many days do we have until the 31st?
Do you hear Blackthorn, Banana?
No, I don't.
Hey, Blackthorn, could you drop back down and come back up? Yeah. Can you hear him, Banana?
No, he's muted right now. There you go.
Oh, yeah, sorry. My kids were walking by. In the build on Titan X stuff, people are, collecting Titan X and giving their own tokens and doing these burn mechanics, and they're playing this game where it's kind of interesting. Do we have something, or could we build something similar to that? Ancillary protocols that would build off of pTGC and burn it? Or is maybe the tax in and out making that hard to do? I don't know. Just an idea.
I don't see a reason why it's not possible. I do think that specifically with our community, we would have to be very, very careful about what the project actually is, if it's safe, if the builder means well by the protocol. One thing I like about the way Titan X does it is they make it to where you can only Jake has certain rules for builders who are building on Titan X, and if they don't follow those rules, he doesn't really talk about it, I don't think. I'm not an expert on this idea. But if you do follow the rules, he kind of promotes it. But then on the other side of it, I do have some things that I'm not in love with, but I don't want to talk about those things at all, because I don't want to make this a space about nitpicking this or nitpicking that, or this is about Titan X or this is about Titan X. I want to just keep it veered towards pTGC and UFO, if that's all right. But my point of it is, I don't see a reason why it's not possible. If there was community members building, I'd say no matter what, if there's a community building on top of ours, that's awesome. But we have to recognize, is it an extraction of value or is it an addition of value? Because most people who are building something on top of something, it's a goal of extraction of value from that specific community, and not really an addition of value. So we would want to make sure that if we are talking about other protocols building on top of us, that they actually have the intentions of adding value to protocol, not extracting value.
Sure. I was just thinking about it because there's all these new things they're launching, and some of them are interesting, some of them are not. And I thought, maybe we could play that game, or someone could. I don't even know how to begin, but I don't even know if that was a possibility. So I guess I'm just starting the wheels in my head if that's even something I could work on. But thanks for at least addressing it.
Yeah, I'd say, it's obviously anyone could build on top of anything. No one gave me a permission to build a farm on top of Pulse X. I just went and did it, right? I didn't have to knock on RH's door and ask him for permission to make farms with hex and e-hex and ink and PLS. I just did whatever I wanted to do, and I'm trying to add value to the ecosystem of Pulse Chain in turn. And I do hope eventually people recognize what pTGC and UFO are and do try to add value to the ecosystem as well. But that's what I mean, is we need people building that want to add value, not extract value. And that's where there's a fine line, and we have to kind of pay attention.
Justin Knapp. Let's see. No, Dave Johnson. I don't know if you were the one that was just speaking, but he said, wondering if there are any other projects that are currently being built on pTGC to increase the burn rate. There have been projects built, and in my opinion, there will be projects built in the future, when pTGC gains in popularity, and UFO too, perhaps, for that matter. And then Justin Knapp asks, can you elaborate on how stables can and will be used to help the protocol in a bear market?
Yeah. So real quick, to address the projects being built, I'm sure there will be plenty of projects that build things on top of pTGC and UFO to increase the burn rate, to burn this for that. I'm sure plenty will come out. It just, comes down to, again, some are going to be trying to add value. Some will be trying to extract value. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
And we just, as a community, need to look at it. And I honestly probably won't address many or any at all, because I have my eyes specifically focused on pTGC and UFO. But their idea should, if they're building on top of it, they should never be building it because they want me to necessarily talk about it. They should be building it for the community and giving the community value, not because I'm a free promoter and I'm going to work all day for them. They need to work all day for their own product that they believe in.
There you go.
Technically should have, I should have nothing to do with it whatsoever.
No expectations.
But, and then to the second question that I'm spacing on right now.
Stables.
Stables. Okay, so how V2 or really any liquidity works in general is when you're paired with something, you have a ratio with them. And if that ratio, let's say PLS goes up, you naturally go up. If PLS goes down, you go down because you're tied in liquidity to that protocol. So reason why we're not tied to any stables right now is because we think we're about to run into a bull market to where we don't want stables to be holding us down, because stables will never go up in price. And we think we're about to be going up in price. We believe Pulse Chain is going to be going up in price. We believe Bitcoin, Ethereum, so on and so forth. PulseX, Inc, Hex. So what we want is we want all these tokens around us to go up in price. Why? Because they're going to drag us in price. They're going to give us free X's. So then when those do X's, every X that we do on top of those, we get to multiply by them. So if Pulse Chain does a 10X and then we do a 10X over Pulse Chain, well, now the pTGC and UF community just did 100X. So now we're sitting pretty good with very minimal X's. Like a 10X should be pretty easy for Pulse Chain. A 10X for pTGC should be pretty easy. But multiplied together, because we have sustainability and longevity, you actually start getting some pretty awesome numbers. those numbers that people come to crypto for.
But
once we hit those high numbers and we're up super high, what usually happens, right? Everything comes down. The bear market comes in. So what we want to do is we want to start pairing ourselves with the tokens that aren't going down, stable coins. So if we, at that point, this is the beautiful thing about the DAO, is the DAO can adapt with every environment around. Right now, RH tickers are low. So what it's doing, it's accumulating RH tickers and LPing them so we can get the free X's on the way up. Well, what about when RH tickers aren't at a low? We're in like the mid-range of the bull and we're getting a ton of volume from that. Well, let's buy and burn our chart and just increase the value of our protocol, the pTGC or UFO protocol. Well, what happens when we get near the top? Well, now everything's starting to get overbought and you need to hedge that the market is naturally going to shift down now. Well, what we can do to protect the people within the protocol as the DAO is we can actually start LPing with stable coins. And for one, what's that do is that makes our liquidity ratio with stable coins more to where we don't get as much of the down pressure that these other tokens have. And for two, to our unique system, we make value off of these arbitrage bots having to fix the pricing between our stable pairs and our non-stable pairs. For an example, if we're, up 100x from here and we start pairing heavy with stables with our DAO, and then Pulse Chain goes down 80%. But half of our liquidity was with Pulse Chain takers, half of our liquidity was with stables at this point. This is all, who knows where these pools are going to get. Well, actually, just ratio based, we would only get half of that hit because half of us would be with stables. So if you took out all buys and sells, all buy and burns, whatever, we would technically only get a 40% dip because half of our liquidity is with stables. So even though the rest of the market did an 80% dip, since half of our liquidity is with stables, we would have only done a 40% dip because we aren't getting no dip from those stables. And that's not even to mention the amount of arbitrage that would happen in between that action. The reaction that would occur would equal tons of buy and burns and APY and real value added back to the system, making it so we get even stronger for the next leg up.
That's one of the beautiful.
I'm not saying that
Well,
we're actually going to get to that half number, but it is nice that we have the DAO to adapt with all these things that happen around us. Because you have to be honest, like crypto is changing so fast. You do want to be locked into decentralized smart contracts, but you also want to be able to adjust and adapt with different scenarios around you.
That's one of the beautiful things about having a DAO. We're not only dependent on the Pulse network and its effect on pTGC, but we can, as a DAO, as a community, somewhat guide our token into, and all the users, into prosperity. We can have some influence that way. It's not like you're on a train and you can't steer anywhere. You just hit the gas. We're like in a car and you can kind of take some corners. You know what I mean? It's really, I had not seen that aspect, that benefit of this being a DAO like that until just now.
Well, and we have no idea, like, still to this day, there's a lot of speculation of like, what are some of the features that are going to guide Pulse Chain to mass adoption? People like to speculate on it, but they're all unknown at this time. And when these doors, or if these doors do start to get opened and we start actually seeing the proper direction to move, what if we weren't able to take action on these possibilities? What if we were stuck and confined of certain code? I think being confined in code is very, very important for being decentralized and trustless. But then I do think there's trustless ways, a DAO, to where the community guides where it goes. But you can actually adapt with all these interesting variables that get thrown at you. Like today's crypto is not the same as 4 years from now crypto. This is why cryptos always get left behind and don't make new highs the next cycle. It's very, very rare because they can't adapt with the needs of the next cycle.
Yeah, that's good, man. We're getting some good questions from YouTube. Keep them coming, guys. I need to come to class with a question. I always should have a question. I have some in my pocket. I taught my kids, when you go to class, because I try to practice this, engage with the teacher. Always be ready with a question.
I did bring up G808 if he had a question or anything he wanted to add to the conversation.
Yeah, aloha, guys. I just wanted to let you guys know that there's a new platform. I don't know if you know who Pablo Crow is.
I don't, but
He's an influencer. He's been in crypto space for a long time. He's got just a little bit less followers than B Roots, but he's got a like a shill tank style thing. It's just like shill tank. You don't have to pay anything to get on there. You just, I just like to see PTGC, get shout out a couple other like spaces like that. But he just built a platform, an affordable platform for all like projects called Ticker Trending. And it's going to be pretty hot. There's going to be like influencers on there, probably Beards will be on there shortly. And somebody just put Teddy Bear on there. It's only been up for like not even a week.
You said Ticker Trending?
Yes, check it out.
Okay. And what's the name of his show again?
Memes for All. His name is Pablo Crow. I can probably I don't know how to do all that stuff, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
I'll look him up.
Yeah.
YouTube, Memes for All.
Yeah, check out his Twitter, Pablo_Crow.
Okay, got it.
And then Ticker Trending is just, it's a website. It's up and running now, but yeah. Somebody put Teddy Bear up there. I was trying to get you guys to check it out. Maybe you guys would be the first ones on the Pulse chain to go up there. It'd be cool to see pTGC and UFO. But yeah, he's got a good audience to, there's this one guy who's always showing Teddy Bear on Memes for All. It comes every week and it could be a community member, I end up listening to it because my time zone. I'm always late and I listen to it after. But yeah.
Well,
I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, thank you for that. B Roots did tweet today, and he showed the data how this cycle is a meme coin cycle. And, and like it or not, pTGC, it's like very, very memeable. Just look at our art.
It's a meme with utility.
Yes, it's meme-fi, right?
Yeah, and you could totally put that on the Ticker Trending. There's got all kinds of he's got all kinds of categories and stuff, and it's pretty cool. You should check it out. And it's affordable, and you can pretty soon he's going to have like influencers on there, and like it'll show like the influencers that support that coin. So it's really cool.
Can you hit me up on Twitter on that? Send me a link.
Yes, I can do that. Should I just DM you?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll just figure that out. I'm going to drop down and figure that out. And, man, keep up the good work. And yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm Prairie Banana.
Okay, got you, brother.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming up, G808. I think that's a perfect example of what we were just talking about is the space is moving so quick and ever growing. And, obviously that has nothing to do with the token, but that has something to do with the new platform that just came out a week ago where we can get pTGC and UFO listed on and being adaptive and proactive to do so.
Yes.
Because you never know where you're going to find, a great community member that, wants to join and, actually likes the product and wants to educate others on the product. It could be literally anywhere. You could meet that person on the street. You could find that one person on Ticker Trending. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. W. Wallace on YouTube got his first pTGC today. He's like, dude, picked up my first pTGC today. Thanks. So welcome, W. Wallace.
Welcome.
Here's a question from Justin. I'm not sure quite how to answer it. What percentage of total value does the Dow have influence over? It doesn't really have influence over. How would you answer that?
So the Dow, I think I get his question. The Dow receives 2% of every transaction. So on every transaction, 2% of that transaction gets sent to the Dow in a form of PLS, and then the Dow votes on how that PLS will be spent, and or people within the Dow, the stakers of pTGC, the top 100 stakers, can make proposals on how those funds are spent. So majority of the community is pretty much since the existing of pTGC, because this is what pTGC has been built on, and we've promoted Remember the Mission, is LP ads and buy and burns, because the buy and burns and the LP ads are real value within the system. So that's mainly what the Dow is focused on. Technically, it could vote and spend the money on almost anything. It could, want to get a listing on CoinMarketCap if that's what they wanted to do. But throughout the whole year now, that's pretty much 99.9% of the proposals have just went to buy and burns and LP ads. And it's been working quite well, so I don't really see it changing.
Yeah. We'll just pivot with the needs of the market and with opportunities that we see. What do you think about reading B Roots' tweet from this morning?
Which one?
The one about this being a meme coin cycle. Did you see it?
Yeah. I'd say that's fun.
Okay. He says, this is a reality thread. It's time for everybody to get behind one or two meme coins and take it to $1 billion market cap on Pulse Chain. Not the stupid 20 billion market cap coins with no liquidity. Not the, hey guys, use supply liquidity crap. No more sacrifices. None of that pulling liquidity and adding liquidity, trying to be a mini at Richard Hartwan. I'm talking about pure meme coin, pTGC. Locked, burnt liquidity. Take it to $1 billion plus that everybody gets behind. Hex is not the answer to this bull market. It's that simple. Nobody else cares about DeFi like that anymore. Maybe it's just on pause. Crypto has narratives. Last bull market, it was DEXs, DeFi, and NFTs. This cycle, it is Bitcoin, DeFi, AI, and meme coins. This is a majority meme coin cycle. Deal with it. He puts all in all caps. Below is the proof. And I'm showing this for the YouTube audience. It isn't even L1s, but L1s are getting its increase from meme coins. It definitely isn't DeFi like Hex. This is why you get no views on your YouTube channels. You aren't attracting anybody. This is the chart by volume. Basically, this is where the money is at in the last 6 months. This tells me that if you do not have memes in the hundreds of millions of market caps, nobody cares about your chain, and your chain is trash. And he's just talking real plain there, okay? So here is the chart he was referring to. Over here, you have 200 million probably dollars in volume on memes. AI is about 75 million, L2 45 million, and then there are other categories. But clearly, this is a meme coin market. And he's been saying this for quite some time, that this bull run is going to be about memes. And we have a memeable token.
Yeah, that's the nice thing, that we have the narrative and the memeability of aliens. And personally, obviously, I came up with this narrative or this theme, and I thought that was possibly one of the best themes in crypto that hadn't been tapped into yet is aliens. I feel like dogs have taken off, cats have taken off. I feel like everyone can relate or has thought about aliens, and obviously the alien tech fits our token very, very well. So I think we hit that category as being memeable or a fun narrative or a fun theme very, very well, right? But
Yes.
then I also find it very unique to our system that we have mechanics behind the meme, making it so we can have sustainability and longevity for the long term.
Yep. It's meme-fi, like Cryptokindness said.
Yeah, meme-fi. I actually love that. I've never heard that before. Cryptokindness said that.
Me neither. Me neither. I used that hashtag for the first time this morning. Somebody was even saying that, like, what's the term for corporations that are going to be dipping their toes into crypto? I forget. But anyhow, companies are going to even be buying meme coins.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and obviously B-Roots is an extremist for a reason. You know, he's kind of going extreme levels to get people to engage and people talking. I think Hex will do very well this cycle. I think it's a great store of value. I do think pTGC and UFO are forms of store of value. I think Bitcoin's also a store of value. I think everything has its place, but he's 100% right. Cycles do have like a big top that in that cycle booms, right? And I think it's pretty obvious at this point that memes are, you know, going to be it. And that's why I feel comfortable that we can sit both sides of the fence, right? And that's really unique because most people don't get to sit on both sides of the fence. We get to sit on the meme side for the people who are really into memes. And then we also get to sit on the DeFi side for people who didn't really like memes and are looking more for the DeFi or the store of value or the things with actual utility. So that doesn't only give us the ability to sit on both sides of the fence, but then we're going to attract two different types of influencers, community members, and it's okay, right? Because that was the purpose. We wanted to fall on both sides. We wanted to give these people what they want to eat and give these people what they want to eat. You don't have to serve them the same dish.
Right.
I do think, you know, what we have here on Pulse Chain is very, very unique as far as the utility that we have built into PTG and where this utility could actually go. With the success of Pulse Chain, just a little bit, like once Pulse Chain leaves some of these cheaper levels and it, let's say, revalues itself at 10x, it's really, to me, crazy to think about that once that boat leaves, and let's say it never comes back to these levels, let's say it falls, lands around 10x above that, our utility, our metric behind our protocol has readjusted itself by 10 times the amount of value for anyone to even replicate it of where it is today. Like, if you look at where pTGC and UFO today are, it's like $8 million in liquidity, right?
Mm-hmm.
For someone to try to rip it. Like, that's how much utility in LP is backing these protocols. If Pulse Chain just flickers at revaluating itself next, that's not $80 million in value to try to replicate the system. There's more than just the system. You have to replicate the community, which is goddamn hard because our community is getting stronger every day. You have to recreate the chances that we've actually got. Like, we got the opportunity to build here at Pulse Chain at the very bottom when no one was building here. Once Pulse Chain 10x's, there's going to be plenty of builders, and it's going to be a lot harder to get the attention of people. We got to build our community from the ground up before there was any stores in the city.
Yep.
And we get to actually put our foot down and say, this is us. We are a blue chip here. And everyone coming into this chain will know who we are and know what we stand for and know what we've built and what we've found on this undervalued blockchain with the principles that we're educated on by RH himself. Like, it's going to be a bold statement. And I think with Pulse Chain revaluating itself, once this machine kicks into high gear, I think alone that's going to be a narrative. Because most crypto, 99% of crypto, 99.9% of crypto actually doesn't have real value getting put into the system. It is just a Ponzi. Crypto in general is just a Ponzi. You need buyers to come in so then people could sell, and you need more buyers to push it back up. There is actually not a system that generates value behind the token itself. Token is the value. And as soon as people don't want the token anymore, there ain't no value. This unique system that we have here on PulseChain and the unique actions we've taken place to capitalize on it and grow and grow and grow and grow every day. I think that it's going to be a narrative that catches all of crypto by surprise. Like, they're going to say, where the heck did this thing come from? Where did pTGC and UFO come from? And how are they doing these numbers? Then the funny part about it is, once they see it, their opportunity is not leaving, because I think it will continue to do levels. Like, they can get in at any time, but getting in before the revaluation of PulseChain, in my opinion, is huge. Like, I don't know how to stress that enough. Like, once PulseChain leaves, like once it's up 10x, pTGC is now 10x up. Like, it's not, in my opinion, PulseChain isn't coming back down to these low levels once this bull run kicks. So, like, I think when people realize what this machine is, it's going to be at those levels. It's going to be when PulseChain's 10x from here, when pTGC's 10x from here, because that's when the machine really turns on. That's when that car is really driving. But you want to get into the car when it's parked and it's just revving up. You don't want to get into the car once it's already going 100 miles per hour.
Yep. It's too late then.
I wouldn't say it's too late. It's just like there's an S curve to everything, right? Like, you would be naive to not say so. And you want to get in before the S curve starts to go up. Obviously, that's the scariest time. You don't know how high that S curve is going at these points, but that's literally the best time to get into the S curve, is before, not after, not halfway or 3/4 of the way up. It's before. That's where you're going to get the most gains, and that's where you're going to get the biggest multiples on your exits. Like, you know, for an example, if someone gets in now and it runs up 10x from here, well, they did a 10x, but let's say someone gets in after the price increases 100% from here. Well, that's only a 5x now. That decreased really quick.
The notorious one is asking about using DAO funds to promote the product on shows like Shill Tank. What do you think about doing that?
I personally believe we obviously have been promoted on Shill Tank and stuff like that. B-Roots talks about us all the time. But I think a lot of the value from influencers come from when the influencer is actually passionate about the protocol, and not just, being paid by a protocol. For me, it's really obvious when the influencer got paid by a protocol and they're just making a shill because they got a paycheck to do so. And then I also think it's very, very more telling when you can see that they are emotionally and financially invested in the system and they're willing to do whatever it takes to succeed. I think RH is a big believer in this mentality too, is like, hey, we're not paying you to promote the project. Like, you're going to buy a bag like everyone else, and then you're going to be financially and emotionally tied to this thing, and let's send this to the moon together.
Yeah, that makes sense. And people,
I'm not saying we're against it. The DAO can vote on whatever they want. It's just that's my personal opinion on it. And maybe there is a good Shill Tank style thing out there that it's worth getting on to get in the eyes of these people. Like the Dow can go any direction it wants. I love to educate people on something I actually believe in. And I believe once people educate themselves, it clicks for them as well.
No, yeah. I really like your approach. You're like the conservative investor. You're the conservative founder. You're going to be kind to other projects and win. Like you're going to help win it by educating people, which is what you love to do. And you're going to win. How do you put it? Rightly, justly, without putting other people down, without, cutting corners. And I like that approach. That's honorable. We're all going to win at this the honorable way. That's how we need to proceed. Man, I think I've told a handful of people this, but I think this is probably my first time saying it publicly, but our community, for the most part, is a reflection of the founder. And I really believe that they're going to be the one-offs in the community. And that's just how it is. But, no, I appreciate you, how you approach business, Zen, and how you're approaching, business in crypto by doing things honorably.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty simple telltale sign for people if they have businesses outside of crypto, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't just go to other businesses that you're competing against and start trashing them on the internet. Like it's fair game. Like who's giving a better product for the price? And that's usually who gets the job or sells the product. There isn't no like bickering back and forth on the internet. And that's kind of like my idea to it is like, hey, I'm just going to educate people on this product. I think it's an awesome product that does what it's supposed to do very, very well. There might be another awesome product out there that also does store of value really, really well too. And I wish them the best of luck because the pie is actually very large and there could be multiple pieces in that pie.
Yes.
There's enough for many communities and many tokens out there, but I do think we have a really strong protocol here. And I love to educate people on it. And I think once we educate them on the protocol, it's almost enough said.
Yeah, which is one of the values of having these spaces. People can come in here and get educated. This is a good space for that. It's a safe space. What do you think about, and we'll just talk about this publicly, I guess. What do you think about having a class? Because I've done in the past, I think I've done 2 or 3. They end up being like at 60 to 90 minutes, a class on just the basics of pTGC for new people. What do you think about doing some more of those? Like now that we have some new people in the community.
I think once Pulse Chain starts going up in value and there's actually new people coming over the bridge, I personally, a lot of people might not like to hear this, but I don't think there's a lot of new people coming on over the bridge currently. So I'd say that pool of people is quite small, and I think, are doing a decent job of educating them in the Telegram and these spaces. I'm not opposed to it if someone wanted to and they wanted me to show up there to speak within these spaces, I would be 100% more than happy to. Do I think it's going to be definitely needed when people start coming over the bridge? 100%. Why? Because we're actually doing something here on Pulse Chain that's not done on any other chain. Like the tokenomics and the specific mechanics of pTGC, I think are going to rattle people's brains. I actually know they're going to rattle people's brains because I've had people within the community for like 10 months now that I still have to educate on the system. So what that tells me is even these really, really educated people by our age, like our age kind of like is really setting up a foundation of really smart people. So everyone here on Pulse Chain are actually pretty educated on DeFi and how, you should actually run crypto. But what we have to realize is if we do get green candles over here, there's going to be a lot of very uneducated people flowing over to this chain, like very uneducated. And what can we do is we can actually set ourselves up, and when they land here uneducated, not bash them or guide them in the wrong direction, is really sit and try to guide them in the right direction. Because what does that create? That now creates another community member to educate people further. Because you don't know how many people that one person knows. You could have 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 people that they can now educate in the right direction.
Yep. I know I've onboarded people into pTGC. I've onboarded people by accident. They come and they direct message me, and they'll say something about they saw a Twitter post or something on YouTube and they got a bag. And I've onboarded family members, and I think I've onboarded some friends. But I mean, if I've onboarded people, I know other people have. And it's kind of like that multiplier effect. The more people we can get in here, the more we're going to get. And we are also, I mean, we had, let's see, K4K showed up about, it must have been probably, I'm guessing 8 to 10 weeks ago is when he started creating content about pTGC. And it's just a matter
I could promise you K4K onboarded 100 people alone.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Like just alone. Like that guy, like I saw the numbers of holders flicking up like
Yes.
crazy when he started educating people on pTGC.
Yep.
He's just one dude.
Yeah. Who's next? That's where I'm going with that. Who is next? Who's going to be the next K4K that's going to come forward and support and have a big following and support pTGC and UFO and bring all of his followers with him?
Yeah, and there's more than just K4K. There's other people in this community that have honestly done the same too, you know. And even if you're not someone with a big following, like just one person who doesn't even have a following, but if you actually like the product and you do think it's like unique and awesome in its own way, and you think Pulse Chain is going to be successful, I'm sure you can pick up your phone and dial 3 people. And those 3 people, if they go down the rabbit hole and educate themselves, let's say one of those 3 really falls in love with the product, really gets into DeFi, that person might pick up the phone and dial 5.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And that's why I find it so important on the educating people. It's obviously the more time consuming version, but educating people is so strong because then they can go and educate others.
Yeah. But let's bring it down.
If you just do it for them or don't the information, they kind of just ends right there.
Yeah. One of the things I like to do in life when I'm facing something is I like to bring it to the worst because I know it won't go there. And then everything else is better than that. Right? So the worst for pTGC is that nobody comes over. We don't get any more users. But we have the robots. We have the bots that are still going to be putting yield in our wallets every single day, as long as we have activity on the network. So do I think we're going to have the worst? Absolutely not. We're going to have more users coming over. And that's been proven. We're gaining, I don't know how many new users every day. I can tell you guys here in a second. I will tell you an average. Holders added just in the last 20 days, we're averaging about 33 every day. That's not a small number, really. And I think it's going to increase once the network starts hopping.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is those numbers are interesting numbers because they tend to multiply, especially when the market is going at the point in the market like the bull run, right? Like if we keep heading into this bull market like we should be, that number should multiply pretty nicely for the next 6 months or so, right? 6 months to a year. Who knows where this bull market is actually going to land, but 6 months to a year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, at that point, it's going to slow down a little and you hit, but that just kind of primes the machine for the next leg up, because what this machine does in small ebbs and flows and big ebbs and flows is it's constantly putting more of the pTGC in the strong holder's hands and taking it from the weak holder's hands. And that's happening every day, every week, every month, every 6 months, every year, and soon every 4 years, right? Because even with these big cycles, there's microcycles, big cycles, there's microcycles within the big cycle, but it's constantly taking what the blockchain does on its own. It just goes up and down, or all markets go up and down. And every time that market goes up and down, if it's big, large, long waves, small waves, daily time frames, monthly time frames, you can look at any candle and there's always a high point in that wick and a low point in that wick. And you know that our machine is capitalizing off of that whole entire wick or that whole entire candle and doing what it does. And what's it doing is just constantly taking more tokens and giving it to the strong holders, buying them off the market, taking away from weak holders when they sell, and then just buying in the supply and adding real value to the protocol.
Well, I was looking at holders being added. So we have 33 on average for pTGC, and UFO have been averaging about 10 per day. Just saying. We need more UFO holders. pTGC gets all the attention, and it probably should get most of it. But UFO is just kind of in the background there. But it's a legit project, guys. Just saying. And
yeah, pTGC has been around longer. It has more holders. So naturally, more people should be talking about pTGC, in my opinion. I don't think that has anything to say about the quality of product that UFO is. I think UFO, as far as product goes, is a freaking monster. And it has huge product market fit. And I think it's going to actually blow a lot of people's minds as far as actually how well it performs this cycle. But for me, it makes sense that more people are talking about pTGC. As more eyes on it, more holders, people have made more gains. That's a big thing. So,
yeah. Does anyone else care to come up and chat? Who's got a comment or a question? Grandpa Pole says pTGC is the gateway drug to the Grays ecosystem. Yeah, I always recommend, like, people will ask. I don't know if you ever have people just private message you, just kind of out of the blue, and that for whatever reason they don't want to ask a question in the chat, but they just message you, and they're asking for financial advice without like asking for financial advice. So I give financial advice without giving financial advice. Always NFA, right? But I always recommend getting pTGC first. Start there and then venture into UFO if that's what you want to do.
I think they have a lot of similar properties to them, but then they also are actually very different products at the same time. And I would recommend for anyone to look at both of them very, very heavily and, kind of look at what you like in crypto and see if one fits you better. And if one doesn't fit you better and you like both, just grab both.
Mm-hmm.
If you're kind of questioning it, it almost says like, okay, research a little bit more.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good point. We have a new. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if no one's going to be coming up and asking questions, I'll probably be shutting it down soon. But what were you going to say?
I was going to say we have a not new white paper, but it has been revised. If anybody is interested, it has a space-ish font, if you will. It was just updated, and we're working on the UFO white paper also. But the UFO white paper is quite a bit more simple. But if you are looking for reading material, and you don't need to hesitate to give this one out. You know, it's updated, revised. We took some of the language that was pre-pTGC launch, and we were talking like future, and made it out like more like present and past. So it's more updated, I guess you could say. It's a current white paper now with a new font.
Yeah, that's awesome. Luckily, with pTGC and both UFO, they're fully done products. So as far as the products themselves, nothing changed.
Thank you. Yeah.
But
Yes. Fully renounced. Can't retract those contracts. And thankfully, they've been working flawlessly for many, many thousands of transactions.
yeah, I think even more than thousands. I think Coach said the quantity once, and I was pretty amazed by it. It was quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where he got that, but I would like to know. Tons of transactions. Especially with those bots buying.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Mando.
What's up, Mando? Anything you want to add to the convo? Previously, what we were talking about, or anything like that?
He just dropped out. That was the strangest Mando appearance I've seen. There you are.
Half the time, man, I can't tell if this thing is broken or not. The spaces have been horrible lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the last 9 weeks, if you go on a weekly chart down before, I think we were at like a $5 million market cap. We had that massive run up. It was a 927% run up in about 8-9 weeks. And that's just from that last low. 900, almost 1,000%, right? That's a 10x. If you go all the way from the bottom, it's obviously hundreds and hundreds of X. But just in the last 9 weeks or so, almost a 10x. That's not almost 1,000%. And we're currently down 38%. 38%
Thank you.
after running up 1,000%. And new people that are kind of new or just don't get the numbers in the right sense, you know. I get a sense sometimes that, you know, the community will look at other things doing this or doing that, but none of that matters. The goal here isn't the tortoise. It isn't like being Usain Bolt. It's the tortoise versus the hare thing. It's kind of the whole chug along. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I can't. You know, because that's just what the machine does. It just keeps. It keeps knowing it can go. But it's been a great 9-10 weeks. Going up to about a $62 million market cap, consolidating down here around the $40 million market cap or so. And it's great because as people are selling out, if you're watching the wallets, we have a lot more wallets coming in. So like Perry said, there's more wallets, there's more users coming in. And we watch, you know, the top 100, top 200 wallets, and that distribution, like he was saying, is that the system keeps taking the people who want out and then redistributing those tokens to the longer term holders. So we're seeing a very strong distribution of tokens. The as the amount of wallets widens and gets deeper, that distribution is a very powerful metric that people should be paying attention to. Watching the amount of wallets, watching the wallets thinning out, which basically just means that there's less and less and less people that have X amount of impact on a chart, which is a very important thing to look at. That's even just with me. Now, I will say one thing. I talked to BLA, Roots, with that tweet he did. And when someone says like DeFi is not the thing, right? My take on that is that even meme coins that are being deployed on L1s and are solely accessible in AMMs are DeFi, right? So I guess the thing is, what defines what DeFi is? Is it that it's on an L1 and it's predominantly in a AMM, but it has some nuance that makes it DeFi more than a meme coin in the same AMM, right? So it's just a narrative upon a narrative upon a narrative. And I think that the thing that's really unique about meme coins is that they're just honest. It's an honest speculation. It's the most honest form of a casino, because everyone is just basically there to try to get as much X as they can, and then and then exit into the L1 token, right? If you're on AVAX, you're getting AVAX. If you're on Polygon, you're getting Matic. If you're on ETH, you're getting ETH. If you're on Sol, your goal is to just run it up and get more Sol, kind of a thing. pTGC is not one of those things for me where I care that it runs up super, super fast. But I want to remind people, look at the chart. We just had the 1-year anniversary of the deployment of the contracts. That's only 12 months, right? And for the people who've been in, it's very rare to be able to say that up until literally just a couple of weeks ago, we were actually able to say that everyone who ever bought is in profits. That's very rare to be able to say that, right? And so when the system retraces and people are, we need to get on this listing, or we need to get on the shill tank now, and there's this concern troll that happens. Not that it's bad, but now everybody wants to, it's come down 38% after a 1,000% run up, right? Zoom out, look at the chart, remind yourself why pTGC's ecosystem is so unique, so innovative. There's nothing like it on any other blockchain. And understand that when we do have these pullbacks, it's funny because I hear when it's at a $61 million market cap, I just wanted to pull back 20%. I want to get more, 20%. Then it pulls back 20%. And then, it's going to go more. It's going to go more, These pullbacks are opportunities, right? Because the way that the system works is very powerful. There's always buyers. And remember that Pulse Chain went up. Pulse Chain has retraced. So a big part of this retracement is Pulse Chain coming down. Always remember to separate or to subtract the percentage of Pulse Chain's ecosystem coming down on average. And then what actually came down in terms of the sell-off of pTGC tokens. So that's a very unique thing. The thing I like about pTGC, there's so many cool aspects to it. If you're just kind of a crypto person, that you can sit there and just really kind of see this engine working. But remember, we're now sitting at 36 to $40 million market cap, and Pulse Chain's still where it's at. Months ago, we were at a $5 million market cap, and Pulse Chain was where it's at. Months before that, we were at $1 million market cap, and Pulse Chain is where it's at. So remind yourself, as time goes on, this machine is continuously over a trend line. If you draw the trend line to where it's at now, murdering it against the underlying assets that it's sitting on top of, which means that the long-term holders are not getting cut up in fees. They're not getting cut up in taxes. They're not having to lose sleep at night. They're not selling thinking they're going to swing like a lot of people have done. And then the next day it takes off to the next level, right? You're just enjoying the ride. And again, until this thing revalues, the beast of Pulse Chain revalues, I see this as an astronomical opportunity. And nothing is ever financial advice in crypto from anybody. But if you understand how this system works, know what you own, know why you own it, know when you own it, and how the real value proposition will be activated when the actual Lamborghini that this thing is sitting on top of goes into first gear. Because what will happen is, you guys know this, once that happens, the best form of marketing now kicks in. Not only are you staring at 50 million in liquidity now, and you're staring at $100 million market cap, $150 million market cap, right? Which is exactly what B Roots is talking about getting some of these things that have massive energy, that it's just undeniable about what's happening. That's the best form of marketing. It's not going on a shill tank or going on a this or that. Now, when it's early on, yeah. And, to be honest with you, the shill tank with Moon King, he's one of the number one influencers in the space, but he's the number one influencer on Pulse Chain. So if you're trying to onboard people onto Pulse Chain or things onto Pulse Chain, pTGC already has the number one influencer, and he's talking about it all the time. So that's a major blessing. But I just say, guys, know where you're at. Take advantage of the pullbacks. DCAing into pullbacks is just a wonderful strategy, right? Because you're not sitting there playing the guessing game of, should I go all in right now? Or, just having a DCA strategy when you're down 40% from the top, it's not a bad thing to do. It's not a bad thing to do, when you're speculating on trying to get it. Because what it just ends up being is an amazing, great averaging down of your cost basis, especially if you're newer and looking to build your positions. So I just wanted to just throw that in there. I think that we can get disillusioned if we're looking around the space. But remember, Pulse Chain is right at the precipice, in my opinion. And to be honest with you, take a look at Bitcoin and take a look at ETH. Just the main two things. Watch Bitcoin and watch Ethereum, because I don't believe that Pulse Chain is going to make its big move until we see Ethereum go back to that 3,800 to 4,500 spot in terms of a new all-time highs or new breaking into Fibonacci levels up there, right? So that means that there's opportunity down here for anybody who's seriously interested in this ecosystem.
Well said. That might be a good place to end it. TG Zen, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to tap on to one thing Armando was saying real quick. He was talking about how and Amanda, you can chime in. When pulse chain starts reevaluating stuff, it's obviously going to have green candles. And then those green candles are directly going to land on pTGC because of how large our liquidity ties are in our ecosystem, our community, and how it's growing. This is going to be the point, in my opinion, where new users start to come in. And we know they're going to be chasing green candles. And not all of those green candles that pTGC will have will be solely because of pTGC. A lot of the green candles will come from our connected ecosystem. And that's why we've worked so hard on building this ecosystem. We know that. And I will do my best to get as many people on this ecosystem as possible. But the honest truth is some people are just going to buy the green candles. They won't even know why these green candles are happening and how they're happening. And they won't even know that half of the green candles are coming from Pulse going up itself. They're just going to see tons of green candles on pTGC and UFO and be landing on this chain and just hopping on the ride, ultimately.
Yeah. And when we see these retracements, all that is doing is, like you said, it is getting more of the tokens into long-term holders, like, for example, what RH talks about. Delayed gratification. If you just look at anything in crypto that is real and has done well over time, all those holders had to do was buy and hold, right? But when it comes down like this, the system now is able to buy so much more of the tokens for less and get them out of there, right? It's able to buy so much more of the LP, the tokens, to get them into the LP, and burns them into the LP. So when it does do a retracement, every time it goes up, guys, in crypto, what comes up must come down. You always have to come back down to a magnet. You always have to come back down to a band, whether it's the underlying L1 that's gone up and now it has to take a breather, or whether you ran up away from the L1 like we saw, like we did, and then it needs to take a breather. But the beautiful thing about pTGC, which is unique to pTGC and no other crypto has it anywhere, is that it's generating massive amounts of revenue no matter which way it goes, perpetually. There's nothing else out there that does this, right? And there's so much liquidity that's already locked in right now, that we're burning a dolphin position a day. That's absolutely phenomenal. And that only gets more powerful. The velocity of that only gets stronger with this ecosystem getting stronger. So it's a very exciting thing, because frankly it's unique, it's innovative, it's real DeFi, it's the real financial product and a real financial system that's legitimately generating itself revenue that goes to the holders. There's just what other crypto has that? And I don't mean you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're making this thing to buy this thing. I mean generating real revenue like a company, like a business, like an LLC, and giving it to the holders like an exchange. It's awesome.
Yeah, one of the biggest takeaway points is the thing that creates tokens to go up is the community has to hold it, right? If no one's holding it and they just keep selling it, the price will never, go up. Holding long term is very, very important for a community. RH really understood this. This is why he built a locking mechanism with time constraints into his token. We have those built into our tokens, but we also have a few other things that I think are very unique to our system. The one thing that I find super unique is when our community holds, the system actually pays them for holding, which is really, really important. So there's actually a symbiotic relationship going there where the community is holding up the price and then the protocol pays them back for holding up the price. But a very unique thing about it is, and this is not in normal tokens, when the community is holding up the price, all the value that they're actually holding up is working for them, because the value is put within the web, and then the arbitrage bots are trading that value or trading their own value through those pools, and then that's generating real value. So all the value that us as a community is putting into the system is actually working for us on a daily basis. Without this web system, this is not the case. And your money is literally just sitting in the pool waiting for someone to buy and sell. And the LP provider is making that value. That's correct. The DEX is making that value. That's correct. The exchange is making that value. That's correct. But the token or the token holders are actually getting no value from this at all. With our system, they are. And it's super unique. It's not been tapped into. We have a very specific niche idea thing we've created here on PulseChain, and it's super exciting because I don't even really think the machine's on and firing yet. I think once PulseChain gets out of this place it's in, we've already seen what happens when it goes up 4x. We went up 40x. So I just think we have a lot of very unique systems built here, and they obviously are all designed in the favor of the community, which is very unique.
Well, hey, check this out too. You mentioned Hex, and then we can cut it off if you want. But with Hex, people don't really realize that Hex actually is deflationary in a way. A lot of people don't get this because the T-share rate is constantly moving up. Currently, it's 37,674 hex per T-share, right? Now, when it launched, I remember because I was there day one, it was under 1,000 hex per T-share, right? So as time moves on, it becomes harder and harder and harder to mine hex because it costs that much more hex to get a T-share, right? And so what's actually going up in value is the actual T-share rate continually. It's very similar to pTGC, but with pTGC, it's not a T-share that's going up in value. It is the token price that's going up in value, right? Because what's happening is because it's deflationary, like the T-share, the price of the token itself is constantly being forced up in terms of its price floor. So it's very similar to like the share rate with UFO. But it's interesting that pTGC, because it's deflationary, it mimics what Hex does with the T-share rate, being that it's forever getting more expensive against the underlying mathematics that power it. It's just a little bit, it's just sexy to have it on the coin itself, right? So as you can see, from the month that we deployed, or from, I shouldn't say we, but from the month that the founder deployed this on PulseChain, just look at the trend. The price of the token itself is literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of X higher than when it first deployed. Then you go into this cycle where the math kind of kicks in, you get a retracement, kind of goes sideways for a little bit, then the math kicks in, Pulse will go back up, then you have another run. But that in time, there's so much tokens being burned out of existence that when you come back again, you end up at a new price floor on the token, which is the same thing that's happening on the T-share rate in Hex terms with Hex. This never stops in Hex, and it never stops with the token price of pTGC, because They're hard-coded, they're immutable, they're audited, they're deployed on the blockchain, and they can't stop doing what they do. So in that sense, to me, this is just a game of, like Richard always says, it's who's holding the longest. Because the system can only continue to do what it does, which is force the price up. And someone can, yes, reach in and say, well, I want some hex out of that pool, or I want some whatever, and it can temporarily push the price down in that pool. Then the bots have to go and just arbitrage and rebalance all the pools. All of that is doing is paying all of us, putting more LP in there, burning more coins. I feel like as I look at how this thing works, guys, I'm just amazed at it. I'm just amazed at the simplicity of it and the reality that it's truly generating activity on chain, that we're getting paid and we're getting strengthened by real activity on chain, whether it's human interaction or market maker interaction, and it just never stops. And the price performance so far has been astronomical, even though, frankly, Pulse Chain has been dog shit. So what happens when Pulse Chain's not dog shit anymore in terms of price performance? I don't know, but I'm definitely thankful to be on the train for the ride. And I'm still amazed that there's like 15 people in here. It just shows where we're at, guys.
It's just not their time to discover it yet. Everybody has their own timing.
Well, it's Pulse Chain, man. It's Pulse Chain. When Pulse Chain goes, that's when the timing hits for the number one, number two, number three, number four things on that layer one. Because once Pulse Chain breaks up, goes back to SAC rate, that's when everybody's going to start to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's when everybody's going to start to go, oh shit, it's back to SAC rate again. We thought it was dead. We thought, whatever. And then it goes to 3 zeros into 2, and everyone's like, oh, it goes to 3 zeros into 3. Now you start having FOMO.
Yeah.
Now people are starting to see this thing could do way more X than ETH, way more X than Bitcoin. There's hundreds of millions of dollars of LP. Stables are as stable as a rock. So it's definitely a situation where you take that kind of a blockchain, that kind of timing, that kind of market sentiment. People are in massive profits in the bigger tokens or in other alts, and now they're looking to go into something else that's potentially undervalued. And what happens when they look on chain, on Pulse Chain? They go to Pulse X, and this is why I say the marketing kicks in, because the first thing they're going to see are the biggest liquidity pools. And pTGC and UFO are going to be right up there, and they're going to go, "What in the hell are those things? Those things are those tickers are killing it. Those memes are awesome. These are fully DeFi products. They're unruggable. Look at how they work, and you're obviously going to garner a percentage of that marketplace."
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the top. What you probably do the top of the last cycle. I got into crypto at that time. So many people in here did. And we got wrecked because we bought the top. Everybody was talking about crypto. And in my opinion, this is not financial advice, but everybody that is here right now that's paying attention, that has been dollar cost averaging over the last couple of years, you're going to be really well off. In my opinion, you're going to be very happy, because by the time you jump into a taxi or an Uber and the taxi driver is bringing up crypto, as is going to happen in this bull run, it's going to be too late for everybody that hears that from it, their taxi or their Uber driver. It's too late. When everybody's talking about it, that was not the time to get in. That's the time when all of us here right now are going to be thinking about taking profit. So in my opinion, everybody that's here that's been doing their homework and dollar cost average again, are going to be very happy campers.
Awesome, guys. Well, I just wanted to chime in. I'm going to go ahead and take off, but appreciate you, Prairie, Zen, everybody else.
We appreciate you too, Mando. All right, guys. Zen, shall we?
Yeah, I'm going to close it down. I guess one thing I was going to add to that is how Mando said there's only 15 people in this room or whatever. I do believe that this product is the product that ultimately everyone was looking for. Personally, I was looking for the product. That's why it became a goal of mine to put it together, because I just couldn't find it. The current problem, I think, is just no one knows it exists because no one's on Pulse Chain yet. I believe green candles are going to bring people to Pulse Chain. And then on top of that, I think when people land on Pulse Chain, we have hit the nail on the head for what these people are actually looking for in a community product. And I think that's, as much as we can do is once they find it, just educate them on what they've actually found. Because in my opinion, they are very, very lucky to stumble upon it. I wish I could have stumbled upon something with this community and these tokenomics. Sadly, I have a hard time finding it. So that's why me and a group of guys set out to build it. But, never, not to go into that. But what I mean is, no one knows that we're in this little community right here on Spaces yet. But they will soon.
Yeah.
And then this room is going to be filled with hundreds of people, and we're going to have to educate people on it all the time. And, it won't be as quiet. But until that, we are doing one at a time until the blockchain does start to bring people over to us. Because it is the blockchain that is going to flow a lot of the people over, along with protocols doing really well on the blockchain. But we know for a protocol to do really, really, really well, the blockchain needs to do a little bit too. So.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. All right, guys. We'll be streaming on Thursday. So be looking out on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Follow Hayden follow Zen on Twitter. And in the Telegram, we'll announce it there. And then we'll have a space again on Saturday.
Yeah, guys, everybody that showed up, thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting and just being in the space.
Yeah.
The more people that do that from here on out, moving into the cycle, it would be great.
Yeah.
More energy, the more people that show up, the more people that continue to show up. So thank you very much.
Well said. Thank you for covering that. All right.
Have a good night.
Space has ended. The space stream is over. And it's just you and I, guys. Yeah, that was not a little corny. All right, guys. Hope you have a good week. I am not going to be on the space on Saturday, just so you know. So we're not going to be doing this on YouTube. So I guess it's actually a good idea that I'm talking to you because, we're not going to be doing the space this Saturday, but on Monday, yes. So you'll have to tune into the space on Twitter in order to participate. All right, guys and gals. Hey, thank you so much for coming. And for your support. Thank you for the questions. Really like the engagement, the interaction. So have a great week, guys. Go out and crush it. Ciao.